The Order of the Dragon may have faded from history by the 16th century, but in AoE4 it rises again. In the game, the Order is designed as a variant of the Holy Roman Empire civilization and is available with the Sultans Ascend expansion. When you hear Order of the Dragon, you might imagine knights fighting alongside fire-breathing beasts. But in reality, this was a knightly order founded in the early 15th century, and it was born not out of fantasy, but out of necessity. A necessity to defend Europe from one of its greatest threats, the rising power of the Ottoman Empire. Now picture this. It's late 14th century, the Ottoman Empire was pressing into the Balkans under the Sultan Mehmed I. By 1390, the Ottomans had conquered most of the Balkans already and had reduced the Byzantine Empire to Constantinople. And for Christian Europe, this was terrifying. In 1394, Pope Boniface IX proclaimed a new crusade to liberate Bulgaria from the Ottomans and to save Constantinople. The Ottomans, however, crushed this crusade at the Battle of Nicopolis in 1396, a disaster that would become known as the last Great Crusade in the Middle Ages. Survivors wrote afterwards about how the French knights charged recklessly into the Ottoman army just to be surrounded and slaughtered. It was a humiliation that scared Hungary and Wallachia and the rest of Christendom for decades afterwards. The man who survived this disaster was Sigismund of Luxembourg, King of Hungary, and he refused to give up. He realized that if Europe's princes were so separated that another crusade wouldn't be possible, he needed something else. An elite brotherhood bounded by faith and loyalty. And so, in 1408, he founded the Order of the Dragon. And this wasn't just a knightly order for show. Its members had to take an oath to defend Christendom, to protect the king, and to resist the Ottoman forces at all cost. And just like the real order of nobles founded by Sigismund in 1408, this civilization in the game is all about quality over quantity. Instead of filling the battlefield with cheap and trash units, you will be controlling an elite army with extensively trained and heavily equipped soldiers. They are actually more expensive to produce, and they take more population space. But these units also live longer, hit harder, and attack from a greater range compared to their counterparts of other civilizations. As a variant civilization of the Holy Roman Empire, they share many similarities. Besides sharing the landmarks, they also rely on their prelates for special bonuses. Their prelates, however, cannot inspire villagers like you can do with the HRE, but they can inspire military units after inspired warrior is researched. This variant civilization was designed with focus on elitism. Fewer but more productive or better units. Like their villagers, they are more efficient than other villagers from other civilizations. These elite units might be present in the battlefield in lesser numbers, but with their solid stats, bonus from prelates inspiration for example, they can hit very hard. And the idea behind such units is that the player has less units to manage and to micro during fights for example. So they have less to control. The Edict of 1408, the document establishing the foundation of the Order of the Dragon by Sigismund, describes two insignia to be worn by the members of the Order. And surviving depictions of these insignia show two different styles, the Ouroboros Circle and the Strangled Dragon. Which version was used may have depended on the rank of the member or even on occasion, if it's in the battlefield or in a ceremony, for example. The emblem of the Order of the Dragon shows this dragon coiled in a circle biting its own tail. This ancient Ouroboros symbol, known since Greece and Egypt, stood for eternity and vigilance. Another version shows the dragon with its tail wrapped around its own neck, which is a darker image symbolizing the self-destruction of evil. In medieval Europe, the dragon was feared as a monster, but it was also admired by its strength, and by adopting it, Sigismund made a statement. His knights were to be as fierce and relentless. And the religious connotation is also there. In the book of Revelation, for example, the dragon is Satan itself, the great red beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. So in a way, wearing this dragon meant embracing the eternal struggle against chaos and evil straight out of scripture. And of course, it was one of the coolest looking coat of arms in whole medieval Europe. Imagine your enemy seeing that dragon crest on your armor. I think it sent a message. Membership, however, wasn't open for everyone. It was reserved for powerful nobles and princes. And one of those was Vlad II of Wallachia, admitted in 1431. When he joined, he took the title Dracul, from the Latin Dracul, meaning dragon. And for him, joining the order was both an honor and a political move. You see, Wallachia was a frontier principality squeezed between Hungary and the Ottomans. And to survive, Vlad needed the support, the prestige of Europe, and the protection from Hungary. And the order gave him both. But here's a little twist. In Romanian, Dracul also came to mean the devil. So while the Western nobles would know Vlad II as the dragon, to his own people he came to be known as the devil. And this double meaning is going to be important soon. During Vlad II's entire rule, he simply tried to survive. He literally tried to balance alliances and, support in order to not be attacked by anybody, because he's just in the middle. So in order to keep the peace, in order to keep this balance, he would side with Sigismund sometimes, other times he would swear allegiance to the Sultan. It really would only depend who seemed the strongest at the time. However, this little game of survival that he was playing eventually caught up to him, and he was murdered in 1447. And now enters his son, Vlad III. Because his father, Vlad II, was the dragon, was known as Dracul, he became known as Dracula, meaning exactly son of the dragon. Or, in that darker interpretation for his own people, he was known as the son of the devil. Vlad III would become the infamous Vlad the Impaler, notorious for his brutal punishments and bloody wars against the Ottomans. Centuries later, his horrifying reputation and that name would inspire Bram Stoker's iconic vampire novel, Dracul. In a way, the Order of the Dragon, meant to defend the Christendom, ended up giving birth to one of the most notorious, one of the biggest villains in the world's literature. Meanwhile, the order never regained the glory that Sigismund envisioned. After his death in 1437, the order's influence only declined, and by the 16th century it had all but disappeared. But its legacy lived on in the name Dracul, passing from father to son and eventually into legend. Although the Order of the Dragon was founded in Hungary, in the game Age of Empires 4 they are represented as a variant of the Holy Roman Empire civilization. Germany, in a way. So why is that? At first this might sound strange. After all, what do Balkan Knights have to do with Holy Roman Empire? But the answer lies within its founder, Sigismund of Luxembourg. Sigismund was not only king of Hungary, but in 1411 he was also elected king of Romans. And eventually he was crowned Holy Roman Emperor in 1433. That means that the man that created the Order of the Dragon was the most powerful ruler in Central Europe at the time. And the game makes this connection to the Holy Roman Empire in a very clever way to represent this dual identity. and this dual identity really comes through. Like the Holy Roman Empire, the Order also leans heavily on faith and the relic gameplay, on armored units and very efficient and strong late-game armies. But its Hungarian roots set it apart with focusing more on elite and expensive units, special units. Now, since I have already talked about the landmarks of the Holy Roman Empire civilization, and they are pretty much the same with this variant, Order of the Dragon, I'm not gonna repeat all of them again, so if you would like to see their counterparts in real life, I recommend you go check it out, that video, and there you can see the comparison of all the landmarks, most of them, if not all of them, in Germany. So I'll leave the link here in the bubble. The heavy torches technology is available in feudal age and can be researched in barracks to grant an area of effect to torches of gilded spearmen. This tech brings benefits against closely packed buildings, especially since OOTD produces less units. And with this, they are able to keep up with the structural damage. Golden Cuirass is a tech that can be researched at the landmark Meinwerk Palace in feudal age. With this tech researched, gilded men-at-arms take less damage when below a certain amount of health. A cuirass is a piece of armor that covers the torso, the chest and the back, and often is made of metal plates. The thing is, there are no records of the Order of the Dragon wearing specifically cuirass made out of gold. However, gilded or gold-plated armor did exist, especially in the late medieval period to Renaissance period, but they were mostly used for ceremonial purposes, not in the battlefield. I believe that golden here is less about the real golden armor itself, about the material used for it. I think instead it represents the prestige, the expense, and the higher quality material in a way that you would have for these units. Scale armor is a tech available in Castle Age that can be researched in archery ranges. And this tech increases the ranged armor of gilded archers. In the 15th century, plate armor was becoming the standard, especially for European knights. Scale armor was actually more common in antiquity and very early medieval times. And these were composed of rows of small metal plates attached onto fabric or leather. But I believe that members of this order would be using a high-quality metal plates instead. However, there is a thing here. The Eastern and the Balkans were still very influenced by the Byzantines and even the steppe culture. And there, lamellar and scale armor lingered a little bit longer. So I think here for the game, the design choice of this upgrade is the idea of representing this duality, this dual identity of the Eastern and the Western European side. Another technology available in the Castle Age is the Zornhau. This tech is exclusive to the Order of the Dragon's Meinwerk Palace and completely transforms their gilded Landsknecht. Instead of the standard Zweihänder, they are rearmed with a gilded halberd, and their attacks gain a bleed effect that deals damage for a few seconds. In practice, that means even if their enemies survive the first hit, they are going to bleed out trying to run away and eventually fade away. Zornhau is a German term meaning strike of wrath. The Zornhau is one of the master strikes, or Zornhauen, a very powerful diagonal cut usually from the right shoulder. In short, this technology ties the Order of the Dragon to the Holy Roman Empire, to the German martial arts tradition. All these upgrades is another way of the game to reinforce this idea of this civilization. It's not about the numbers, it's about the quality, and reinforce these units with the best equipments they possibly could have at the time. So when you pick Order of the Dragon in Age of Empires 4, you're not just commanding knights with a cool emblem. You're stepping into a story that connects crusades, kings, border wars, and even the origins of the Dracula. History can be strange and far more epic than fiction. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new again. Please like the video if you did, if you had a good time, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.